So I've always wanted to buy a steampunk or industrial themed lamp. You can buy them online, but they're really expensive, so I thought, well, why not just build my own? I like the vintage look of it, the kind of industrial, quirky look. It looks like it could be used in a mad scientist laboratory or maybe Frankenstein's lab. So I thought, well, let's make something that's cool enough to use in one of my Halloween static displays, but also nice enough that I can use it all year round. So I'm going to show you how I made these lamps. These are a little on the complicated side, but you can make your lamp as simplistic as you want and just be creative and sketch out your idea, go to the hardware store, and off you go. Here's how I built mine. The first thing you're going to need is some sort of base. I used wooden bases for mine that I had built out of mahogany. I trimmed out some boards with some 1x2, mitered the corners, and then used a beading bit to just give it a nice edge. And the idea was to build it up a bit to give me that inside cavity to hide all my wiring connections. And then I'm just using a plumber's flange and some basic plumber's pipe that you can get at the hardware store. These are some really cool gears that I've found on eBay. I'm always surfing the web and looking on eBay for, vintage goodies that I can use for different Halloween projects or just because it looks cool. And then I used a variety of little tricks to get me the correct height that I needed for the particular gears that I was using. Once I was satisfied that I had the correct length of my main pipe, I mixed up some 8-minute concrete or metal epoxy, and then I secured the base gear onto that plumber's flange and let it set up for a little bit. So now I'm just screwing in the main pipe run, if you will, and then I found this other really cool gear on eBay, so that goes on top of that. This is just a faucet valve that I found on eBay that someone had made into a light switch by adding wires and a switch inside. You could certainly make this yourself, but for the price on eBay, it was worth it just to buy it. This is some vintage lamp cord that I found on eBay. It's actually new, but it's made to look old. They have tons of different styles and colors to choose from. You can buy it by the foot, and it will really add some character to whatever you're building. And this is a brass housing I found on eBay. This holds a E2627 bulb receptacle, and then I've attached a couple of lamp nipples to it, and that's what they're called. And just a couple of brass pieces, and the main piece at the end is a flange piece or a reducer bushing that you can find in the plumbing department, and that will just allow the whole thing to be screwed into the base. That is a dirty soldering iron. So I'm just tinning some wires here. It makes it easier to bend them to attach to the terminals to the E2726 socket. The other thing it does is it allows you to make a nice little bend in the wire, and you don't have to worry about strands fraying out and possibly causing a short. So I'm just using a pair of pliers to make a little bend in that, and that's going to make it easier to lock into that terminal. Now I'm just pulling that wire through so I can screw that bulb base into that receptacle. Now I've already made one other lamp and it's already installed in the bedroom, so I just took a picture of it and I'm using the image on my phone as a reference so that when I make this lamp it will be a mirror image of the other one. Is anyone else craving a pumpkin spice latte? Maybe because tomorrow's October 1st. I feel like we need some lamp making music in the background. So when I tightened everything down, the valve handle was not completely facing forward, so I went back and added a very thin machine bushing to kind of nudge everything up, and that allowed me to tighten everything and get that valve perfectly facing forward. The threads on the metal pipes are very, very sharp, so planning is everything. Be very careful when you pull those pieces through that you're not cutting the lamp cord. This spring was another eBay find. Now I'm using a continuity tester to check for three things. First, I'm mapping my wires so I know which wire goes to which switch. And I'm also double checking that faucet switch to make sure it's working correctly. And I'm also going to make sure that none of my solder joints are has any continuity to the metal pipe. Even though I double and triple insulated everything with heat shrink tubing, I just didn't want to take any chances. In my How to Build a Mad Scientist panel, I explained how you rust sheet metal, so I use that same process here, and I'm also using a metal copper plate to go underneath it to kind of act as an accent. The dimmer switch and the switch that turns on the neon colored panel lights are rather large, so I just used a Forstner bit to drill a few holes and then a jigsaw to finish up the work of just removing some of that material to give space for those switches. I decided I wanted to try to make my own lampshade, and I wanted it to be circular with 5 brass rods coming up. And I didn't have a protractor, so I just downloaded an image of a perfect 5-point star from the internet, printed that out, and used that as a guide to map out where my holes would be. To finish off this lampshade, I'm just using some 6-inch stainless steel threaded rod and some brass tubing, and I'll secure everything with 2 acorn nuts, one on each end. Alright, lamp number 2 is all done. I've got 2 of these things finished, and I gotta tell you, they were a lot of fun to build, and I learned a lot along the way. So hopefully this inspires you to go out and build your own industrial or steampunk themed lamp. And just show you a couple of shots of them installed in the room. And those little neon lights on the panel there, they cast a really cool effect on the ceiling. And I'm pretty pleased with how these turned out. Again, if you like my channel, please subscribe and be sure to give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Thanks.